Are you someone who can't resist a good steak? How about a nice bowl of ice cream? And what is it about these foods that makes them so hard to say no to? It turns out there's a lot more to deliciousness than just the sum of their parts. I'm the host, and this is Crash Course, Snack Edition, a study hall series presented in partnership with a digital studio. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the science of yummy. So get ready for some brain food. It's impossible to eat without also smelling at the same time. That's because even if something looks and tastes amazing, if it doesn't smell right, your brain won't sign off on it being delicious. Smells come from chemicals that enter your nose and bind to olfactory receptors, which send signals to your brain to interpret. For instance, when you smell freshly baked bread, your brain recognizes specific odor molecules like 2-methylbutanoic acid and knows it's coming from yeast. And when you detect a whiff of cinnamon, your brain knows exactly what it is due to molecules like cinnamon. But what makes something smell like fresh bread or cinnamon is relative to the person smelling it. For example, studies show that people who grew up in homes where their parents regularly used those spices tend to prefer the smell and the taste of them. That's because smells are not only detected by the nose, they're also processed in areas of the brain associated with memory and emotion. So many smells trigger specific memories, which means some flavors have a leg up before you even take a bite. Speaking of taking a bite, once something is in your mouth, it activates a whole new round of flavor flavors. That's because the tongue and other parts of the mouth contain taste buds. These are sensory organs made up of taste receptor cells. The classic wisdom is that we have 5 senses of taste: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. But the exact number of taste receptors varies from person to person. And some researchers argue we actually have more, like 10 distinct senses of taste. Umami is often described as savory or brothy, and it's elicited by glutamate, an amino acid found in many yummy foods like cheese, mushrooms, and tomatoes. This is thought to be our relatively new 5th taste, one that evolved so we could identify foods that were high in protein and therefore had nutritional value. In fact, the word umami comes from the Japanese word for deliciousness. And while we know a lot about the basic tastes, they don't tell the whole story of flavor. Take broccoli. Most people don't think it's all that tasty, but research suggests it has over 1,000 different flavors. So what makes something taste good to you? Well, that depends on the foods you've been exposed to and how your body has processed them. Like smell, the perception of taste is also linked to memory and emotion. Studies show that people who regularly ate broccoli as kids are more likely to like it as adults. And certain flavors can trigger memories so powerful that eating them can bring back vivid scenes from the past. For instance, the smell of freshly cut grass might make you think of playing at the park as a kid, or the taste of eggnog might transport you back to sipping from your grandmother's famous recipe. Flavors are so closely tied to memory that some chefs even encourage diners to play music from the 1970s while they eat their food, so they associate that tune with the taste and remember it fondly later on. In addition to memory, cultural factors and personal experiences also shape how we perceive flavors. Like when it comes to spicy food, studies suggest that people who grew up eating it tend to prefer spicier foods as adults, and they also have a higher tolerance for pain. And the more you expose yourself to a particular spice, the more you'll build up a tolerance to its heat. But it's not just your past experiences that make things taste good. Sometimes it's your expectations that do the trick. When people are told that something is supposed to be delicious, they're more likely to believe it is. And that's because the brain processes expected flavors faster than unexpected ones. That is, if you believe something should taste good, your brain is primed and ready to experience it that way. But why do some foods have an almost magical ability to please our palates? What makes some foods so dang delicious? To answer that, let us take a look at 3 ingredients that are scientifically proven to tantalize taste buds around the world. First up, there's the super stinker. No, not that. One molecule that makes foods smell and taste amazing is called vanillin. You find it in vanilla, wood smoke, and even maple syrup. Vanillin is a phenylpropanoid, which means it's related to a group of plant compounds that contribute to the flavors of fruits, herbs, and spices. Scientists have actually synthesized vanillin in the lab. And by identifying the genes that code for the proteins involved in the process, researchers have figured out how to boost its production in plants. And by engineering microbes to produce more of this compound, scientists may one day be able to make more of this stuff for use in food. Next, there's guanine. You've probably heard of guanine in the context of DNA, but guanine can also be found in food. That's because guanine is one of the building blocks of RNA, which plays a major role in protein synthesis. And guanine is often found in foods that are rich in RNA, like mushrooms. Guanine contributes a savory, meaty flavor to foods, which is part of the reason why it's sometimes added to vegetarian and vegan dishes. It's even used to enhance the flavor of some non-food products like nicotine replacement patches. Finally, there's carnosine. Carnosine is a small molecule found in red meat, poultry, fish, milk, and cheese. It's made up of 2 amino acids linked together, beta-alanine and histidine. Carnosine is especially concentrated in muscle tissue, which is why it's often touted as a natural remedy for people who suffer from muscle fatigue. Researchers have identified specific receptors on the tongue that bind to carnosine, but its unique flavor remains a mystery. As much as we love the science of snacking, though it wouldn't be a delicious episode without tasting some actual snacks. And what would go better with some delectable deep dives into deliciousness than some juicy facts about fruit? Here are some fun tidbits to sink your teeth into. The starfruit grows naturally in Indonesia and Malaysia. The fruit ripens on the tree, but unripe starfruits are picked and allowed to ripen off the tree in controlled environments. The most popular varieties are yellow and purple, but they can also be white, orange, pink, and red. And each variety has a different texture ranging from dry and sandy to soft and mushy. Pineapples originated in South America, specifically southern Brazil and Paraguay. While wild pineapples still grow in these regions, most commercial pineapples are now grown in places like Costa Rica, Thailand, and Indonesia. Pineapples typically take 2 years to grow and must be harvested by hand since pineapple plants die after fruiting once. Papaya is native to the Americas and was domesticated in what is now southern Mexico and the Caribbean. Papayas are technically a berry and related to both passion fruits and cashews. They're a great source of vitamin C and papain. The main enzyme in papaya is a protease, meaning it helps break down protein. It's this enzyme that gives papaya its softening effect when applied as a meat tenderizer. Mangoes grow naturally in South Asia and Southeast Asia, but today they're grown all over the tropics. Mangoes require lots of water and heat to grow, and they're prone to pests and diseases. But the work is worth it because mangoes are not only delicious, they're also full of vitamins A, C, D, and E. Now it's time to test your knowledge of deliciousness. Which of these statements about flavor are true and which are false? All of the following are examples of phenylpropanoids, except for vanillin, cinnamaldehyde, and menthol. True or false? Carnosine is a compound found only in animal products. True or false? And finally, all cultures around the world prefer sweet and savory foods. True or false? Okay, let's check your answers. First up, phenylpropanoids are a class of organic compounds that includes a lot of flavors, but not menthol. So that makes this statement false. Next, carnosine can be found in both plant and animal products. So that makes this statement false. And finally, it's true that all cultures around the world tend to prefer sweet and savory foods, though some prefer certain flavors over others. So that makes this statement true. If you want to learn more about the science behind other yummy things like ice cream, stay tuned for more information. Big thanks to A Digital Studio for helping us make this tasty episode. And thank you for watching this episode of Crash Course Snack Edition, a study hall series presented in partnership with A Digital Studio.